And it's going to 7. Monday's Stanley Cup Final will be the first final to go to Game 7 since 2019. Our New York Post NHL reporter and writer Ethan Sears is on to give us the nitty-gritty on our gritty series with a lot on the line for both of these squads. Ethan, what's going on, my man? Down 3-0, these guys have put themselves in a great position to make history. Thank you for jumping on with us. A lot of people pretty much wrote the Oilers off after being down 3-0. How has this team been able to not only tie the series up, but take control of the series and put some extreme pressure on the Panthers?
Well, Brandon, thanks so much for having me. Every team that goes down 3-0 in a series says the same sort of thing about, believing in themselves. But the Oilers, they really seem to be living that. After Game 3, we heard their coach, Chris Knobloch, say he was looking forward to the next 10 days. We heard Stuart Skinner say, if anyone can do it, it's the Oil. That's the kind of thing you usually write off when you hear it. If they win this Game 7, I was reading one of the local Edmonton writers this morning, and he wrote, those phrases are going to be on T-shirts in Edmonton if they can do this. They've played with belief. Their superstars, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, have taken over games. They've gotten hot goaltending, and they've completely stolen away momentum from the Panthers to tie this up at 3.
I'm wondering, and I got to get your thoughts on this one, because all throughout the playoffs, early in this series, people were talking like Sergei Bobrovsky could win the Conn Smythe. The Oilers have completely lit him up since Game 4. Two-part question, Ethan. What happened to Bobrovsky, and are his struggles more on the Panthers' defense, or is it just that the Oilers' offense is just that good?
Well, it's a little bit of everything right now. Bobrovsky has been prone throughout his career to these kinds of up and down stretches, and he absolutely should and could be playing better right now. You look at 8-1 in Game 4. Obviously, that's partially on the goalie. But it's also that, McDavid and Hyman are just playing at an otherworldly level right now. It's that they seem to have found something in the Panthers defense that they can exploit. It's that in the other net, Stuart Skinner has stepped up his game for Edmonton. It's that the Oilers are playing shutdown defense, especially on the penalty kill. This is just a cascading number of things that are going in Edmonton's way right now. So to answer your question, yes, Bobrovsky needs to get better, but this is not a case where it's just one thing that's swinging the series. It's a lot of things right now.
If someone were to tell me that Stuart Skinner was going to outplay Bobrovsky in an NHL final, in a playoff final, then I would have called cap on that one. But he looked like Leonard Skinner with the whole beard and all that stuff. But dude has been absolutely out of control these last 3 games. I want to get your opinion on this one as well, man. Your media, you write on the NHL. If the Panthers lose this series in the final in back-to-back years, what's the narrative going to be on Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers?
Well, I don't think you need me to tell you this would be the worst collapse in the history of the sport if they lose this series. It might be the worst collapse in the history of sports, or at least North American sports, period. Paul Maurice has already won the most games of any coach in history who has not won the Stanley Cup. The Panthers, they lost the final last year, like you said. Let's not forget 2 years ago, they won the President's Trophy and then lost in the second round, although that was before Paul Maurice was the head coach. So whether it's fair or not, the narrative is going to be that this is a great team that just can't seem to get over that final hurdle, and this would be a pretty emphatic way to cement that.
In other pro leagues, people lose their jobs, or coaches lose their jobs because they can't get over that hump. If they lose this Game 7 in the final, do we see a coaching change down in Florida?
I would guess not, just because of the sort of cachet Maurice has. I don't know who they would be hiring, who would be better than him. But, like you said, that narrative would certainly be out there. And that would be something that they really would have to overcome and look at sort of all aspects of their organization to try to fix.
All right, you got a trending article up on the Post website right now. You guys got to go check that out. And it's about Connor McDavid and how my man has been very Connor McDavid-like throughout this series and the playoffs. 42 points in the playoffs with 1 game to go. And my homie, dude didn't even register a single point in Game 6. So if the Oilers win Game 7 in the Cup, where does this put McDavid in terms of the all-time greats?
In my mind, it would put him, right up in the mix with anyone. It maybe saving, maybe except for Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. As far as individual accomplishments and postseasons go, this would have to be considered maybe the greatest of all time. Gretzky and Lemieux both had more points in an individual playoffs than McDavid has, at least so far. But obviously neither of them were ever in this kind of situation, leading their team back from a 3-0 deficit. Granted, I don't really think anybody would be saying, McDavid is better than Gretzky or better than Lemieux, at least without having multiple championships. But if they can win this series, I think you probably need to start thinking about, how could he eventually end up on that sort of echelon, when it's all said and done. The enormity of this accomplishment, the historic level that it would be on is really unprecedented. And it would really, put him right up there for me.
Yeah, he's definitely been exciting to watch. Game 7 goes down on Monday. Ethan, thanks for taking the time out of your day to hop on this with us, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Brandon.